Okay, so my roadcaster just rebooted. Oh, here we go. It's back. Let's let's get that started again. We're gonna keep this. This is what sometimes during a live, right? You just things just happen. So let's get this going again. Here we go. Welcome to Podcast Answers, the show where I help you start and grow podcasting your podcast while answering all sorts of questions along the way. Guys, good day. It is, as I'm trying to record this here, I get going and I hit go. I hit let's do this thing. I start my live stream. I go to start my recording on my podcast or my Rodecaster, and I immediately, the Rodecaster dumps and reboots. And I was like, it reboots. So, you know what? The great thing, this is a good time to remember you may have to just roll with the flow. And so if you saw this, the beginning of this podcast episode, it's going to have that mess up in it. I'm not actually going to do anything about it. So the recording will have it clean as far as the audio. But if you're watching video, you saw my frustration as I looked over and pushed the button to play the music and it stopped going. And I see the Rodecaster reboot. Not good, not good. So anyways, let's get started today. So what do? We do help people start and grow their podcast, answering all sorts of podcasting questions along the way. If you are watching live and want to join our backstage, you can go to podcastanswers.com/backstage. That'll get you into a Zoom meeting where we're hanging out and having some fun and all sorts of things like that. If you want to call into our show live, we would love to have you call in 574-501-4945. That'll get you onto the show live today. And today we are talking a little bit about just being able to have good microphone technique and how that's going to make your show sound a whole lot better. And good microphone technique only works if your audio equipment works. So again, call in live today, 574-501-4945, or join our backstage at Zoom. We have a Zoom meeting going on backstage, and that's at podcastanswers.com/backstage. So, anyways, let's get this party started here. Today, we're talking a little bit about good microphone technique and just sounding better, because you can have the best microphone or the worst microphone, and you can get good or bad quality out of any of those microphones, just basically depending on your mic technique. So, some of the best things we want to do is mic placement. So we want to keep the microphone 4 to 8 inches or 10 to 20 centimeters about from your mouth for a strong, clear signal. And that's going to be about like 4 finger widths away. We like to say a little bit, if it was a lollipop and you were going to lick it, you'd be about that close. So if you don't have to be right on top of it, but you do need to be pretty close and stay consistent with that. Now, you're going to aim the microphone slightly off axis. So you're not going to directly talk into the front of the microphone, because that will help you reduce harsh breathing sounds and plosives like the P's and the B's and things like that. So again, off axis just a little bit. So it's kind of at a little bit of an angle. If you're watching me on video right now, you're seeing how I'm demonstrating that. You're seeing me, you're seeing me and how I'm doing that. Now, the next thing is you are going to want to maintain a constant distance from the microphone, avoiding noticeable volume changes. So make sure that you're setting up in a good position. Make sure that you're not back and forth from it. Again, keeping that 4 to 8 inches away or 10 to 20 centimeters away from the microphone helps, because what it will do is it'll allow you to just stay in a good, consistent way. So for me, what I do is I have that microphone on a boom arm, and I have my chair here, and my chair is a certain distance away. Yes, my chair rolls, but I make sure that I'm not going to roll that chair while I'm talking on the show, because I want to stay consistently in front of this microphone, so that way I have a better control over how far away that I am, so that the volume level stays pretty consistent with that. Now, To help control with your plosives and your breath noises, we want to use a pop filter. It's a foam windscreen type of thing when talking close to the microphone. So again, if you can see me, I have a big giant uh, pop filter windscreen on my, actually mine's a windscreen, not a pop filter, but um, in front of my computer, which helps kind of keep those P's and those B's from being so harsh and so poppy and plosively, if you will. So you're going to speak across the microphone again, like rather than directly at it, and trying to, um, yeah, just trying to keep that windscreen helps a little bit. You're going to want to set your gain levels properly. Adjust your input gain on your microphone so that your normal speaking levels peaks just below the clipping. So for me, I am getting into the yellow a little bit on my Rodecaster. I don't want to peak, but I do want it to be loud enough for people to hear, but not too loud that it clips. So if you have meters available to you, whether that be on your Rodecaster or something like that, aim for a strong levels without getting into the red zone, and you don't because you don't want to peak that. It's okay occasionally to be able to do that, to go into the red just slightly, but you don't want to ride in there and you don't want to stay there for very long. Definitely. So test your loudest expected speech too before recording or joining a meeting. So if you know that you're going to be really loud, if you are a really loud type of person, you're going to want to make sure that your levels are pretty okay, pretty good, so that you're not going to go over that. Now, if you have a compressor on your audio device, that's going to be good because that'll help you kind of keep a consistent level, so that if you get really loud or really low, it's going to kind of help even and balance that out while you're speaking too. So you want to do that before your meeting. Again, just kind of what I do before I hit record on the show is I slide my slider up and I talk a little bit and just make sure that I'm hitting in the levels that I'm expecting to hit. That way I know I'm not going over it, that the gain didn't get turned up somehow. I'm the only one that uses this audio device, but you never know. I'm doing other things with it besides just doing podcast recording. I'm also um, I'm also doing other meetings and things like that. And so I want to make sure that before my show starts, I have my consistent level going on and it's going to be good. Now, some of the other ways that you can have this is not necessarily mic technique, but this will allow you to get a good quality uh, show is making sure that you reduce background noise. So you're going to want to record in a quiet room whenever possible. I know that I'm in an office area here while I'm recording, and I try to make sure that people are not going to be coming in and bothering me. I also make sure that the air conditioner, if it's going to be close to my, like sometimes depending on what room you're in, the air conditioner can be on. So you're going to want to turn off your fans, your air conditioners, other noises sources if you can. Now, I know you can't always control that. Sometimes we have things like dogs that bark randomly, and you can't help that because the Amazon guy shows up and the dog barks. So you can't necessarily get rid of all of those things, but I would definitely say that you're going to want to try and get rid of any noises that you know are in the background. Position your microphone close to you with your mouth and your mouth further away from the noise sources too. So that helps too. If you know that you have an air conditioner across the room, you're going to want to not turn up your microphone so loud that you pick up that sound. Now there are different. We can talk a little bit later in this show about the different kinds of microphones, condenser, uh, or dynamic microphone, because those are going to have some different qualities. But you're going to want to again place your microphone closer to you, and that's why we want to speak close to that microphone. And when you speak close to that microphone, it means that you don't have to speak quite as loud. Now, a couple other things that we can do are improving your room acoustics too. So this is again more than just your microphone technique itself, but it's going to improve the environment that you're in. So soft furnishings are things you're going to want, like carpets and curtains and upholstered furniture. It's going to help reduce that echo. Anything that's going to be soft and plushy is going to take all of those sound waves that are coming out of your mouth, and it's going to absorb some of them. If you're talking on a hard wall, a large room, you're going to hear an empty, you're going to be reflecting all of those audio things, and you're going to be able to hear that in the recording. You are going to hear when you are saying things, you are going to hear those bounce back. If you need to, what you can do is face towards soft surfaces too, rather than bare walls. So it helps if you can hang things that are going to help out. It could be curtains, it could be something along those lines, or our acoustic panels will help reduce some of that echo too. I've heard of people that take their recording things and go into a closet, actually, because the clothes that are in that closet are going to actually help reduce some of the audio bounces backs and reverbs and things that are happening from a bare room. Now, again, if you're on video, that might look weird. So that's one thing to consider when you're recording your podcast. If you're going to do video, you're going to want to make sure that your video is either you're not doing video if you're going to go to a closet, because it's just going to be weird, right? Well, no one wants to see your clothes in the closet. Now, some speaking techniques that can help too are speaking clearly and with a steady volume. I know that's some I'm a little bit guilty of that sometimes, where I'm speaking not so clearly and I get tongue tied, as well as talking fast. I'm just a fast talker. So some of the things you can do to help that is you can go ahead and just listen to yourself, slow down, talk a lot slower than you think you would need to talk. And really, honestly, it's not that slow. It may feel really slow to you because you're hearing yourself be steady and slow. You're hearing that, you know that you're trying to slow down, and you know that that is going to feel slow to you. But to everybody else, that does not feel slow. That feels at an okay volume. Another thing you can do for speaking is avoid turning your head away from the microphone too while talking. This is a little bit harder if you have guests in the room with you, because if depending how you have yourself placed, it may mean that you have to turn your head a little bit. I know for one of my podcasts, I have me and a co-host and guests. And when we have guests, it's hard to place everybody in a place where they're not going to turn their head to talk. So you just have to be conscious of that. Now, if you just have you and one other co-host, you can sit across the table from each other. And you can that way you're not actually going to be talking away from the microphone. Now, again, it's really easy not to do that if you're on your own. However, for me, I've got a bunch of things going on. I have live streams that I'm checking on while I'm doing this. I have Zoom calls going on while I do this. So sometimes I am looking away, but I make sure to look away with my eyes mostly and not my head. I try not to turn completely away from the microphone because I don't want to have that audio volume go in and out. I want it to be a consistent thing, a consistent area. Now, some of the ways you can know if it's going to sound weird is monitoring your audio. Use headphones when possible to prevent speaker audio from being picked up by the microphone. Now, this is, we've gotten so used to video conferencing, things like Zoom being able to do noise reduction and echo cancellation and things like that. It does work. It does make it so that if your guest is speaking over the speaker, it doesn't get picked up in your own mic, but that does affect the audio quality. And so by having echo cancellation on, you do hear a difference in the audio. So you're going to want to have headphones on so that way audio doesn't bleed from things that you're listening to. So for me, I have in-ear monitors on. You can't really see them unless I turn my head, but I do have in-ear monitors on. That way I can keep monitoring the thing. That helps because I know a lot of people don't like big old over-the-ear canned headphones because it does, yes, while it looks like you're a radio show, it does get distracting sometimes because that is really loud and really obnoxious because you see that and it's just a lot visually. And so especially if you're doing podcasts with video, you're going to want to do something with like in-ear monitors where it helps to keep away that look and that distraction of big over the ear headphones, but you're still able to hear what's going on and you're listening to yourself again. So I know when you first start out podcasting, it's hard to want to listen to yourself and have your ears in yourself coming back into your ears because you're not used to hearing yourself talk, and you do sound funny to yourself when you listen because you're listening back to your audio and it sounds different. But the reason you do that is so that way you can hear the audio levels, in comparative how those audio levels sounded. And for me, I'm doing all sorts of things like playing sounds like things like that in my podcast. And I want to know that level compared to myself, how I'm hearing myself come through. My audio, my beginning audio track, I'm playing that at the same time. I'm not adding that in post. And so I want to listen to that audio and know the relative volume of my voice versus that soundtrack. So that's why wear earphones, and you should be too, as you're recording your podcast. You can also listen back to a short recording of yourself before any important podcasting recordings. So what you can do is hit record 10 minutes before, 15 minutes before your show. Just talk a few minutes, do a tech check, an audio check. Make sure that you're sounding good. And when you do that, play that back and say, okay, guess that was good. No, that was not good. It sounds bad, and things like that. So listen back to yourself. I always listen to my shows as soon as I publish them. Since I don't do a lot of editing on my shows, I don't really listen to them while I'm editing, but I do listen back in post production, or not post production, but once I've posted them. And the reason I do that is several different things, so that I know things sound good in different locations. So I may listen to them in my truck when I'm driving to and from work. I may listen to them in my AirPods. I may listen to them on my speaker, on my computer, on speaker of my phone. That way I can get an idea of how things sound and make sure that I'm actually going to be sounding good on all devices, because ultimately I want you to be able to hear me and understand me and be able to take in the content that I have to tell you. So for me, that means that I am listening back to it. And the other thing that me listening back to my show does is it allows me to pick up on things like, oh, Andy, you're speaking too fast. You are speaking so fast that people can't understand you. You are also saying things like and and things like that. It also helps you to be able to speak in a more natural tone, so that way you're not, maybe your pacing and your tonation is off. You're going to hear that, and you're going to pick up on that if you're listening to yourself. Now, I talked a little bit about dynamic microphones versus condenser microphones and the difference between those. And the dynamic microphones typically work well in noisy environments because they can pick up less of the room sound around you. So a great microphone is the SM7B. It's the microphone I'm talking to you on right now. It's a Shure microphone. I love it. A lot of podcasters use it. You see it a lot of different places. And the reason is because it is a dynamic microphone and it sounds good. It allows you to use it in I don't even want to say a noisy environment, but in an environment that just, if you're not really, really, really well treated, it sounds okay. It sounds pretty good. Condenser microphones often capture more detail, so your voice is more rich and it sounds it has a better sound, but it is more sensitive to room noise and echoes. So if you are in a larger room, you're going to hear those sounds come back into your microphone. You're going to be able to tell the room profile by listening to it. And so you're going to want to choose the microphone that sounds best for you. For me, it's a dynamic microphone. It's the SM7B. I really like it. I really like the way it sounds, and it's easy to use. And so that's one of the things that I use. Now, also, microphones, if you don't know, have a pickup pattern: cardioid, omnidirectional, etc. You're going to want to be kind of conscious of that and speak into that pattern instead of, into its where you're going to be out of the mic pattern. So for some, a cardioid is kind of like a heart, where it's picking up kind of around it, but not necessarily behind it or off axis. So like if I'm purposely going to come off axis of my microphone. So for me, if I come off axis of this microphone, you're going to be able to tell the difference. I'm still about the same distance away, but I'm at a different axis of the microphone than I was before. And so you're going to want to be conscious of that microphone pickup pattern, and you're going to want to be able to know that you are getting the best sound out of your microphone. So, quick rule of thumb: for most things you're going to be recording voice, the biggest improvements come from getting closer to your microphone, using a pop filter or windscreen, recording in a quieter, less echoey room if you can, you're going to want to keep a consistent speaking position too, instead of moving all around. If you move all around, you're going to be able to hear it because the microphone is going to be farther away from your voice. And then setting your gain correctly to avoid clipping. These 5 things are going to help you sound a world of difference away, and you can make even a not so great microphone. Again, my microphone that I'm using is roughly $400, around that area of price, US price. And yes, that's a kind of expensive microphone, but at the same time, it is what it is. But you can get by with a cheaper microphone as long as you use these rule of thumb. It's going to allow you to kind of get a better sound, and it's going to get a better overall just sound. And you can use a cheaper mic if you, as long as you follow these steps that I talked about, getting closer to the microphone, using a pop filter, recording in a quieter, less echoey room, keeping a consistent speaking position, and setting your gain correctly to avoid the clipping. These things are going to help you a lot. Yeah, they're going to help you a whole lot. So, guys, make sure that you do these things. I want to know if you have any more tips that I didn't tell you today about getting good sound with your microphone technique. I would love to hear them. So make sure you go over to podcastanswers.com/contact, and you can contact me and let me know the tips and tricks you have for getting good sound out of your microphone. And if you want to leave me a voicemail, you can call 574-501-4945. That will get you a voicemail line. You can leave a voicemail. We love hearing your voice. I love audio podcasts for a reason. And so get out there, guys. Have a safe week and keep on podcasting.